I'm going to loop these three questions together because they have to do with the MVP race. We'll start with Ian. He asks, why do people not see Jokic's dominance as a clear number one case for MVP? I think so. For starters, I don't know that there's a clear MVP, a clear number one right now. I think Jokic and Steph are kind of neck and neck for that 1 and 2 spot. And I think about Giannis a lot. There's also KD there. People make a case for DeMar. I'll get to my top of my ballot quickly because that's another question that we have. So I'll get there soon. But I do believe that Jokic does get undersold as an MVP. We saw it last year when I think that he became the clear MVP, midway, definitely by the 3-quarter mark through the season, when you kind of looked at and saw the time that Embiid missed, that LeBron had missed. There was really, I guess, between him and Giannis would have been like the bigger decision to make insofar as you even had to make one. I don't know that there's a real answer other than how many people are watching the Nuggets. And I hate to play that card because if you're a casual NBA fan, you're a casual NBA fan. Jokic should be among the primary megastar draws there. But I understand if there are people that just aren't watching the Nuggets a ton. That being said, the people who have votes, you hope that they're at least paying attention enough to the Nuggets to understand the magnitude of what Jokic is doing. It also could be because the Nuggets just aren't that elite team this year, since you are missing Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray right now. I do think that does elevate his case. When you look at everyone who has played at least 110 minutes this season, Jokic leads the league in net rating swing. The Nuggets are, they're getting outscored by minus 15.2 points per 100 possessions when he's off the court. They're outscoring opponents by plus 8.8 points per 100 possessions when he's on the court. And so that's nearly a 24 point or exactly a 24 point net rating swing. And those numbers can be misleading, especially when the team is good. It could be him just elevating this really good product. We've seen it with other MVPs in the past. That's not necessarily something to denigrate him with, but I think this sort of speaks more so to how indispensable he is to the Nuggets because they're dog shit when he's not on the court. That being said, Stephen Curry is top 5 in net rating swing among this criteria as well. He's doing it on a team that's better when he's off the floor relative to how the Nuggets are without Jokic. There is something to be said about uplifting a better team by a similar margin as opposed to taking a team that would be bare bones or just really crappy without you and bringing it to a semi-good, borderline great level. This doesn't have to be the end all be all. I don't know how you necessarily distinguish between these two factors, but it makes it really tough. For Jokic, advanced metrics are still going to love him. When you look at regularized, adjusted, plus minus, the single year stuff can be noisy, but no matter how you slice it, whether it's luck adjusted or just the regular RAPM, he ranks in the top 5 of both. He is, I think, 4th in regular RAPM, and then luck adjusted RAPM, he is 2nd in the league. And so he has the clout to win MVP. I just do think that Steph is a viable candidate as someone who you put him on the floor. And I don't even know that you could say this about Jokic, just by having Steph on the floor, even if he doesn't have the ball, by virtue of him being there, by virtue of the concept of Stephen Curry existing to the defense, he makes everyone around him better. Where I do think that Jokic needs the ball to have that level of an impact, which isn't really an argument against him, to be clear. And I will get to who my MVP pick is in a second. Next question comes from Diagon Alley. Says, do you believe Steph Curry should win the MVP award? What are you looking for from the Warriors the rest of the season? Can they win it all? And then Delano Bantonstan asks, who's your MVP? So my MVP right now is Nikola Jokic. I don't know if I'm weighting the lack of help that he's had too much, because I don't think Steph should be penalized for having Draymond Green, for having this version of Andrew Wiggins, for getting a Gary Payton the second breakout, for the Warriors hitting on the margins with the Otto Porter Jr. signing and minutes from Nemanja Bjelica, even just getting flashes of Jonathan Kuminga this season. The Warriors have been, for the most part, the best, no worse than the second best team in the league this season. I think that Steph is, to me, still the single most valuable offensive player in the league, and that includes Jokic. Jokic wins it out for me because I do think he's more valuable to the Nuggets, even at full strength, than maybe Steph would be to the Warriors at full strength, because you have Clay, you have Draymond. Maybe Steph wins it out when they're at full strength by a little bit, because if you take him off the Warriors at full strength, let's take Jokic off the full strength Nuggets. Let's take Steph off the full strength Warriors. Which one of those teams is more likely to be a playoff team? I think it's probably the Nuggets. Maybe that speaks to the faith I have in Jamal Murray. But we've seen what can happen with Draymond when his minutes are untethered from Steph, or he's not playing with a team that just has a ton of offensive depth. His game can can really suffer. Where I think Jokic wins it for me this season, at least. You can look at the body of work, how he's uplifted a team that really has just been beset by injuries. Forget the league's health and safety protocols. They've just been beset by injuries at the top more than other squads because Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray are supposed to be, I would say, two of their three most important players, but depending on how you feel about Aaron Gordon, let's say two of their four most important players. That's not a Jamal Murray shot. That would be a Michael Porter Jr. shot, if anything. Jokic is also just more important to the way that the Denver Nuggets operate on defense. Steph doesn't need to be hitting all the time on defense for the Warriors, but they're not going to put him in these super difficult matchups. They have players that allow them to work around that, where he's not going to be the player guarding point of attack nonstop. That's not his fault. Again, I think his value on offense speaks for itself, and what he does on defense, he's not going to hurt you, and that bears out in the on-off splits. Don't cite individual defensive rating, please. We've seen it cited as a reason for why Steph is this two-way player this season. I beg you to just don't do that. But Jokic he's going to just assume more difficult assignments. When the Nuggets want to go aggressive in pick and roll, which is, I think I was looking at a chart of the most aggressive pick and roll coverages, not the top in the league, but I think it's fairly often. He's going to be a part of that. And I don't think that he's a great defender. I think he hovers somewhere between, on any given night, slightly, maybe on his best nights, he's slightly above average. On his worst nights, he can be detrimental, but he's probably hovering around closer to average or slightly above average for most of this season. I just think knowing that, and then the workload he needs to shoulder on offense, it's similar to the argument we would have made for Giannis Antetokounmpo in the past. I don't think Jokic is having anywhere near the same impact as Giannis on defense in those years. Giannis could be a defensive player of the year candidate this season. That's just my logic as of right now, but I really can't decide between Steph and Jokic. This is written in pencil or written in sand, subject to change, whatever. Whoever you pick, I'm not arguing. I think other people that deserve consideration here, Giannis would be third for me. KD is 4. I think DeRozan is 5th, but there's also names like John Morant, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, even Fred VanVleet. Guys, take a look at Fred VanVleet's MVP cage. They're just his season. He's been spectacular this year. Those are names that spring to mind. People are going to eventually make a case for LeBron James if the Lakers continue to play better. I don't know that he's in my top 7 right now. He's definitely not in my top 5, but those are people that could deserve some consideration on the back of the ballot. Look, the MVP, people complain about talking about it this early. It's a fluid discussion in certain seasons. This isn't just one of those years where it was, set in stone after game 12 or whatever. This is a real debate between Steph and Jokic, and I don't think either of them, or I don't think they collectively have run away with the award to the extent that you can say, oh, Giannis or KD doesn't deserve it. And there will be, if the Bulls finish with the best record in the East and DeMar's playing like this, there will be some people that throw him up there too. So those are pretty solidly my top 5, but I could see some of that changing. I think in the end, my top 3 are going to end up being Jokic, Steph, and Giannis. I don't know if it'll be in that order, but I do think those, just looking at, I know Giannis hasn't played as much as KD this year, but barring something catastrophic, I think those are going to wind up being the top 3. Again, I don't think this is like etched in marble.